Yo, what is up guys? It's the Goblin and welcome back to another Call of Duty Modern Warfare video. In tonight's video, we're going to be talking about the top 10 best guns in my opinion after this 1.10 patch update and basically for the start of Season 1 in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. We had a few really strong DLC weapons added into this game, as well as just general changes that have been happening over the last couple of weeks to, buffs and nerfs and different changes as far as the weapons and the meta goes. We're going to talk about the top 10 in my opinion in no particular order here. So of course, because if you're an SMG player, you're probably going to say the MP5 is your favorite gun. If you're an AR player, you're probably going to say the M4 is your favorite gun. If you're an LMG player, you know there's a couple of LMGs that are really good in this game that you could pick as your favorite. So we're not going to put these in any particular order. We're going to be talking about the best top 10 guns overall in my personal opinion. Feel free to leave your top 3, top 5, top 10, whatever you would like down in the comment section down below. Definitely going to be reading through those. If you guys could drop a like on this video, that would be absolutely incredible. Let's go ahead and go for 882 likes. If we could hit that, that would be incredible. It only takes a half a millisecond to just drop down and hit that like button, so I really do appreciate that. Also subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and not already subscribed. And let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, coming in at first on our list, once again in no particular order, so we're not ranking these 1 through 10 or anything like that, but these are the top 10 guns. The Ram 7, and this is the new assault rifle into this game, but I kind of think of it more as an assault rifle SMG hybrid. This weapon is really good in terms of having great mobility and a great fire rate as far as an assault rifle. It's really fun to use. Now, you're not going to be able to pick people off at long ranges. This is made for something like, I consider it more of like a TAR 21 Peacekeeper mix. And the reason I say Peacekeeper is because how good that weapon is with being an SMG and an AR. The problems you'll run into with this weapon are going to be the reload, because of the fact that it just shoots so fast, which is obviously a great thing in combat, but it means you do have to reload quite a bit more often. And the recoil. This weapon does have a tad bit of recoil, but this is a weapon that you need to play close to mid-range, and you can do absolute work with this thing. I've been liking the Ram 7, and of course we'll probably have a class up for this weapon out soon because this was just released earlier today. Next we have the MP5. MP5 is still deadly and easily deserves a spot on this top 10 list. It would be in my top 5 guns for sure. The MP5 is just incredible. Did I say MP7? I meant to say MP5 if I said MP7. MP7 is also incredible. We'll talk about that one in a little bit, but the MP5 is amazing. This is just a weapon that the 10mm rounds is the main thing on this weapon. Even if you don't run with that, I'm sure people love the MP5, but the key to this, some weapons there's a key when it comes down to the class up or build, and that one is going to be the 10mm ammo, which allows you to do work at range but still have a fast firing, very effective SMG up close. Recoil pattern on this is just a bounce and very easy to control, and the main decision it comes down to with this weapon is, do you want to go with the monolithic suppressor or with the more integral suppressor for closer range? That's what I would rock when it came down to Shoot House, but probably if you're playing Crash or one of the bigger maps or more mid-sized maps, you might want to go with the traditional monolithic. Either way, the MP5 is just amazing, and I'm so glad it's good in this game because we've had the MP5 in a lot of different Call of Duties. Probably COD 4 was where it was at its best, and in this game, it really is up there as well as a really top-tier weapon in this game. Next is going to be the Oden, and the Oden is a weapon that I've been sort of going back and forth on. For a period of time, I took it out of my top 10 guns when I was just playing nothing but Shoot House, basically, because Shoot House 24/7 was the thing. Now we have Crash 24/7, which honestly, Crash fits perfectly into the Oden's playstyle, mid to long range lines of sights. Of course, not saying Crash is the biggest map of all time, but there's a lot of longer lines of sight on that map, and the Oden is just incredible because of its raw time to kill and damage. Now, you do have a bounce pattern sort of recoil. You'd only have 20 bullets in this thing. You can up that to 25 or 30, but my defense is more just to rock with a sleight of hand. I do think the Oden is a weapon that it can feel sort of stiff and can get you caught out up close, but if you use this weapon for what it's made to be used as sort of a pop shooting, bounce shooting AR for mid-range, this thing does have one of the faster time to kills in the game, and if you do hit all those shots, of course, which is easier said than done, but I do think the Oden, I'm slowly creeping up back into my top 10 list, and I'm really enjoying this weapon more and more over the last little bit in this game, so I thought it would deserve a spot on this list as of right now in the current meta, especially with the map rotation that we have rocking as of right now. Next is going to be the Kilo 141, and the Kilo 141 is one that never really lost its gusto, or never really lost the sauce through all of the nerfs. The only thing that got nerfed with this really was the fact that the 5.56 ammo in itself was affected across all of the fully automatic ARs, which of course hit this thing as well. Kilo is amazing because I compare it to the ACR. It's just a weapon that if you don't want to deal with recoil, if you don't want to deal with any BS, you just slap on the Kilo and let this thing go to town down whether you want to rock with the default sight, which is pretty nice default sights, pretty nice as far as like, you know, circular sights or a GI, reflex sights, you know, any sort of sight you rock with this thing is pretty nice. And the main features of this weapon are just steady overall, and there's no BS. This thing can kill fairly decently up close, it can kill amazingly at range, and you're not gonna have to deal with any sort of BS with this weapon. It's straightforward with a nice reload time, and straightforward with good sights and a clean weapon. Next is going to be another new weapon. So both of these two new weapons, and of course I don't have the most playtime with these two new weapons because they have just been added into the game, but these weapons, from what I've played with them so far, I mean, these both deserve a spot because they're just ridiculous, especially this one, the Holger 26. I think this weapon is really good in this game, especially based on the fact, like, in this gameplay I'm using, of course, the variant that I unlocked at like tier 85 of the battle pass, which is for it's called the Gilded, I believe, which gives you the 30 round mag. But where this weapon really hits top notch, and I'll have a class setup coming out for this probably within the next couple of days, is when you use it with just the default, which is a 100 round drum mag by default, and you slap on sleight of hand, or even without sleight of hand, the reload time is something like I've never seen before. You should check out the gameplay. I uploaded full gameplay just experimenting with this thing in a private match earlier on my channel. This thing is just incredible. It's stuff that I've never really seen before out of LMGs, which of course LMGs are strong in this game, the time to kill, all that stuff we've seen, but the fact that this thing is so mobile for an LMG, you can move around with it, it has nice default sights, and just the 100 round magazine by default with a fast reload is kind of unheard of, and I think that Holger weapon is just incredible, and as more people unlock and use it, we'll see a lot of talk about it probably in the community. At least that's my prediction. It's a weapon I'll be using quite a bit. Next is the M4A1. Although this weapon has been nerfed many times, it still remains near the top of the guns list in this game, just for the fact that it's just raw fire rate combined with damage is just incredible and can outclass most of the weapons in this game, with also being, I would say, like, this thing does have a recoil, but the recoil, it's not the most controllable. I mean, mainly you just want to pull down on the right thumbstick. But the thing about the recoil with this weapon is it kills so fast. By the time you've noticed the recoil happening, you've already gotten a single kill, a double kill, a triple kill. Who knows what's happened so far? But this is a weapon that can be rocked with many different ways. I think, like, in this gameplay, I was using the Colt 9mm sort of setup with it, which is when you switch up the ammo. But you can also rock this thing with a 60 round mag. You can rock it with a normal magazine, with a sleight of hand. I mean, there's so many ways you can take the M4, but at the end of the day, just the raw time to kill and the fire rate mixed with the damage, plus the fact that you have a fast reload, nice default sights, makes this weapon definitely one of the best weapons overall in this game, and it's going to take a lot more nerfs to get this off of a top 10 guns list in this game, that's for sure. Next is going to be the AK-47. AK-47 is more of a niche weapon where you'll see a lot of people hating on this weapon, being like, man, this thing is so sluggish and slow, and you'll see a lot of the same complaints for weapons like the Oden as well, but this one is, the AK is just one that I find is, if you're looking for just, you know what, I want a strong weapon. I want a weapon where if I hit the enemy, they're gonna die, and I don't really have to deal with anything. The recoil pattern on this is fairly simple to control. It's a little bit of a bounce. I'd say a lot of people complain about the recoil on this weapon. I don't really find that to be too much of an issue. You can mix up your grip tape to sort of help you deal with that if that's a problem with you're having. More of the issue I have with this thing is probably the handling on it, which of course then it comes down to, you know, I rock with like a stippled grip tape if I want a faster handling. If you're having trouble with the reload time, or not the reload time, but the recoil on this weapon, you can mix that up and rock with a different grip tape. And for reload time, I mean, reload time is really not a problem at all because you rock sleight of hand, and with a weapon that has a slower fire rate but higher damage like this, you don't really run into those reload problems like you might have with a Ram 7, which is sort of the opposite, faster firing, and the time to kill with that weapon comes from the fire rate, not necessarily the damage. Next is going to be the AUG. The AUG is a weapon that snuck its way into the top 10 maybe a couple patches ago, right before the 1.09 update with the hotfix. The key with the AUG, much like with the MP5, the key is to run the 10mm ammo, even though the MP5 is great if you just run normal ammo as well. The AUG is with the 5.56 ammo, which traditionally uses more SMG type, I think it's like 9mm ammo, but you slap on that attachment, which is the conversion for the 5.56 NATO rounds, and it makes this thing more of a hybrid AR SMG, and it definitely feels a little bit, I guess with the setup that I use, a little bit slower but steadier compared to the Ram 7, but it's the same sort of idea, hybrid hybrid AR SMG, which does some really good stuff. AUG definitely deserves a spot on this list. Next is going to be the MP7, which, as well as the MP7, personally, most of the time I take the MP5 over the MP7, but I still find that this weapon is just, I mean, with the fire rate, you just find yourself just going ham up close with this thing, and the fact that, of course, you also have 40 rounds with the MP7 is very, very nice, as you see from like a gameplay like this. A weapon that has good default sights, is great up close, but also great and effective at range, and of course, you do have that magazine size a little bit more, and I guess sight preference is also up for debate. If you guys like, let me know in the comment section down below. If you guys made it this far in the video, what do you guys like, the MP5 or the MP7 as far as default sights? Personally, I don't really know. Both of them are really, really good for me. I'd probably say the MP5 overall. The MP5 has more recoil than the MP7, but just based on the raw iron sight, I would probably take the MP5 sight. Of course, when you factor in recoil, then that mixes things up. And then the last one on our list, last but definitely not least, is the PKM LMG. So we got two LMGs on this, the new Holger as well as the PKM. I think this update is probably going to be what makes LMGs, if they're not already mainstream, because I mean, a lot of tryhards and good players are using these things, or even campers posted up in ground war. I mean, ground war, you see a lot of LMGs, but not so much in the traditional modes. But I think this update may change that because of the fact the Holger 26 is so strong and the PKM is just a monster, and this thing has been a monster. They nerfed this thing once way, way, way back, like when they nerfed like almost all the LMGs, but it didn't really do too much. This is different from the Holger, where you do have a slower reload time, but you do have just raw, just a really strong weapon when it comes down to power and base statistics. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. That is my top 10 weapons for the current patch update 1.10. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Drop a like if you guys did make it to the end of the video. Comment top 10 down in the comment section down below. Smack a like, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and not already subscribed, and that's about it. I'll catch you on the next one, and I'm out. Peace.